all the gods sung the praises of Lalitamba and requested her to slay Bhandasur, to which she agreed. She left with an army that consisted of warrior women who were all beautiful and charming, and approached the battlefield. Meanwhile, Bhandasur came to know that the inhabitants of all the three worlds were cured of their misery and had regained their youth, beauty, and joy. Bhandasur ordered his commanders to gather all his armies and keep them ready for war. Lalitamba had set their base a little away from Bhandasur's city. Durmad, an Asur from Bhandasur's army, was entrusted with the task of defeating Lalitamba. He marched towards her base with 10 Akshohini armies. Lalitamba's army consisted of several battalions, each led by a specific goddess. The first battalion to go to war with the Asuras was the battalion led by Sampatkari Devi. In this battalion, each warrior woman rode an elephant. Hence, Lalitamba is praised as Sampatkari Samaruda Sindura Vraja Sevita, meaning the one who is worshipped by the army mounted upon elephants, led by Sampatkari Devi. Sampatkari Devi's elephant was named Kolahal. She shot crores of arrows simultaneously, while Kolahal ran through the Asuras, trampling and crushing them, slashing them with its tremendous trunk and piercing others with its long and sharp tusks. Durmad, along with most of his army, perished at the hands of Sampatkari Devi and the warrior woman, while some of the Asuras escaped back to Bhandasura's city and told him the tale of their defeat. Bhandasur was furious that his army of powerful Asuras was defeated by an army of delicate young women. He then ordered the Asura Kurund to take 20 Akshohini armies, defeat Lalitamba, and bring her back, dragging her by her hair. Kurund left at once and launched an attack with his 20 Akshohini armies. As Sampatkari Devi was ready to retaliate, her sister Ashwarudha Devi appeared and asked Sampatkari Devi to give her a chance to fight. Sampatkari Devi smiled and retreated back with her battalion. Ashwarudha Devi then brought in her own battalion of warrior women, all seated upon horses. Hence Lalitamba is praised as Ashwarudha Dhishtitashva Koti Koti Bhiravrata, meaning the one who is surrounded by crores of warrior women mounted upon horses. Ashwarudha Devi, riding her horse named Aparajit, slayed Kurunda and his army. Hearing this, Bhandasur cursed and hissed like a mighty snake. He was overcome with grief for a while and asked his commandant Kutilaksha how it was even possible that mere women could vanquish his greatest warriors. Such a thing was beyond his belief. Bhandasur then ordered 100 Akshohinis to be sent to battle under the commandment of the 5 courageous Asura commanders, Karanka, Kakavasita, Vajradanta, Vajramukha, and Vajralom. The simultaneous marching of 100 Akshohini armies on the battlefield caused so much dust to be raised in the air that from a distance it seemed as if there was a huge muddy ocean moving towards Lalitamba and her army. The Devatas watching this from the heavens trembled in fear and wondered how Lalitamba's warrior women would be able to deal with them. Indra remembered how his soldiers had been defeated by Karanka and others by means of Serpini Maya that could instantly create crores of highly venomous snakes. And that is exactly what Karanka did. He caused Serpini to appear on the battlefield. From the 2 fierce eyes of Serpini came countless snakes, each with 2 hoods, dark as storm clouds. They swarmed towards the warrior woman, spreading their deadly poison. From Serpini's mouth, even more brown snakes with 4 hoods slithered out. Her nostrils released an endless stream of yellow, 3-hooded snakes, while terrifying serpents crawled from her ears. Blood-red snakes poured from her navel, spitting the deadly halahal poison. The warrior women fought back, shooting arrows non-stop, but each time they killed a snake, more appeared through Serpini's Maya, quickly filling the battlefield with venomous creatures. It was a terrifying sight. The warrior woman struggled, unable to stop the endless wave of snakes. One by one, they fell. and it seemed that there was no escape. Seeing the warrior woman suffer, the 5 powerful Asura commanders grew bolder and rushed forward to attack Ashwarudha Devi's forces. Karanka, on a chariot pulled by 100 donkeys, fired arrows like a fierce storm. Kakavasita, riding an elephant, spun his deadly discus, cutting through the warrior woman. Vajradanta, from his camel, shot sharp diamond-like arrows, bringing down many warrior women. Vajramukha, on a donkey, struck down thousands more, while Vajraloma, in a chariot led by donkeys, joined in the destruction. Encouraged by their leaders, the 100 Akshohinis attacked with full force. Serpini, growing even more furious, sent another massive wave of mystical poisonous snakes. The warrior women were losing hope when suddenly Lalitamba stepped forward. From her mouth appeared Nakuleshwari Devi, riding the mighty Garud. Like a flash of lightning, Nakuleshwari flew into the battle to stop Serpini's snake magic. From the 32 teeth of Nakuleshwari Devi emerged 32 crore golden mongooses. The mongooses leapt forward, tearing apart the snakes, filling the battlefield with poison and shining jewels that once adorned the snakes' hoods. Seeing her mystical snakes destroyed, Serpini became wild with anger and charged into the battle herself. But before she could attack, Nakuleshwari shot a powerful Garudastra from her bow. The weapon struck Serpini, destroying her instantly. She fell dead without even putting up a fight. The 5 commanders, furious at Serpini's defeat, gathered their entire army to attack Nakuleshwari. But Nakuleshwari fought with great skill, defeating all of them. Impressed by her bravery, Mantrini Devi, the chief minister of Lalitamba, made Nakuleshwari her personal bodyguard, honoring her victory. After Nakuleshwari defeated Karanka and his commanders, few survivors fled back in terror to their king Bhandasura. Shocked and grieving, he turned to his chief commander Kutilaksha and asked him how his strongest warriors, aided by Serpini's Maya and 100 Akshohinis, could be defeated by one woman. Furious, he ordered 7 new commanders, Valahak, Suchimukh, Phalamukh, Vikram, Vikatanan, Karalaksh and Karataka, to lead an even larger force of 300 Akshohinis into battle. Their massive army shook the ground, darkened the sky with dust, and thundered forward with war drums echoing through the land. Determined to avenge their fallen warriors, the 7 brothers led their troops into combat against Lalitamba's warrior woman. The battlefield turned chaotic as the two forces clashed. The Asura commanders had a cunning plan, for while they allowed the warrior woman to come forward and slay the Asura army, once they had come very much ahead and had completely mixed with the Asura army, the Asura commanders started their violent attack. Valahak, riding his powerful kite, charged into battle, firing deadly arrows that tore through the ranks of warrior women. His brothers followed, Suchimukh on a giant crow, Vikatanan on a fierce rooster, Karalaksh on an undead corpse, and Karataka on the terrifying Betal. As the battle raged on, the warrior women found themselves trapped, completely surrounded by Asuras. There was no way for them to escape. At that moment, the Asura commanders revealed their hidden weapon. The 7 brothers had once performed intense penance to please Surya, the sun god. When Surya appeared before them, they asked for a special boon, the ability to paralyze their enemies just by looking at them during battle. Their wish was granted, allowing them to freeze their foes in place, making them easy targets. Now, in the midst of the battlefield, the 7 Asura brothers activated their power. Their eyes glowed with a mysterious light, and as soon as they gazed at the warrior woman, the women became completely still like statues. Their weapons fell from their hands, and they were unable to move. Helpless and defenseless, they watched in horror as the Asuras began cutting them down with ease, like chopping logs of wood. As blood flowed and pain filled the air, the warrior women cried out in their hearts to Lalitamba to save them from the disaster that they were in. Hearing their prayers, Lalitamba, full of compassion, turned to her mighty warrior Thirascarini. Without hesitation, Thirascarini climbed onto her unique Tamolipta chariot, which was engulfed in darkness and hence could not be seen by anyone. Armed with her enchanted Mohana bow, she let out a fierce war cry and stormed into the battlefield. She fired serpent-like arrows that struck fear into the Asuras, causing them to scatter in panic, abandoning their frozen enemies. Following the advice of Varahi Devi, Thirascarini unleashed a blinding weapon upon Valahak and his brothers. Instantly, the 7 Asuras lost their sight, rendering their boon useless. Freed from the spell, the warrior women regained control of their bodies and weapons. Led by Thirascarini, they launched a furious counterattack, cutting down the Asura forces with renewed strength. Grateful for their rescue, they praised Thirascarini and urged her to finish the 7 commanders. Without hesitation, Thirascarini grabbed Valahak by his hair and beheaded him. She also killed his kite mount with her arrows. Seeing this, the demigods in heavens cheered and encouraged her to slay the rest. She moved swiftly, striking down Suchimukha with her sword, sending his jeweled crown rolling to the ground. One by one, she beheaded the remaining 5 brothers, their heads falling lifelessly onto the battlefield. Varahi Devi looked at Thirascarini with admiration and praised her for her bravery, skill, and sharp thinking. The warrior woman, now free and full of energy, fought fearlessly, wiping out most of the Asura army. Rivers of blood flowed across the battlefield as the enemy forces fell. Only a few terrified Asuras managed to escape. They fled back to their kingdom and, trembling with fear, told their king Bhandasur of the terrible defeat. Hearing the news, Bhandasur's heart sank. His strongest commanders had been slain, and his mighty army had been crushed. The first day of the battle was almost complete, and it was quite clear that Bhandasur was losing. The sun was about to set. That is when Bhandasur thought of a cunning plan. He ordered his brother and Yuvraj Vishanga to take 15 of his Asura commanders along with 15 Akshohini armies and sneakily go to the base of the Devis in the darkness of the night and kill Lalitamba, who was sitting on her 9-tiered chariot. As night fell, the Rakshasas gained strength due to the darkness. Using their magical abilities, Vishanga and his 15 commanders launched a sneaky attack on Lalitamba and her Nitya Devis. The Asuras, dressed in black, hid their faces and moved silently to avoid detection. Their goal was to attack Lalitamba's chariot from behind while her armies were engaged elsewhere. Vishanga and his men shot arrows at the lower tiers of the chariot, injuring many Siddhi Devis and Yoginis. Since the attackers were invisible, the Yoginis struggled to fight back. Bhandasur sent an additional 10 Akshohini armies under the commandment of Kutilaksha to keep Lalitamba's armies occupied so that they could not come back to their base and assist Lalitamba and other Devis. As the attack intensified, Vishanga shot at the top of Lalitamba's chariot and knocked down its flag. Seeing this dishonorable attack, Kameshwari and other Nitya Devis sought Lalitamba's permission to retaliate. With her approval, they descended from the chariot. Ready to fight, Kameshwari Nitya scolded Vishanga for his cowardly tactics and warned him that his magic could not withstand hers. As the Nitya Devis approached, the Asuras became visible, losing their advantage. A fierce battle followed. The 15 Nitya Devis let out terrifying war cries and each killed 1 out of the 15 commanders. The names of the Nitya Devis were Kameshwari, Bhagamalini, Nitya Klinna, Bherunda, Vanhivasini, Shivaduti, Mahavajreshwari, Twarita, Kulasundari, Nitya, Neelapataka, Vijaya, Sarvamangala, Jwala Malinika, and Chitra. These names are also mentioned in the Devi Khadgamala Stotra. Vishanga fought for an hour, but was ultimately overpowered. Kameshwari Nitya fired an arrow at Vishanga's reproductive organ that left him impotent, forcing him to flee with his remaining soldiers. Since he was destined to be slain later by Dandini Devi, the Nitya Devis did not pursue him. Lalita Devi anxiously witnessed the battle between the Nitya Devis and the Asuras and was pleased upon the victory of her Shaktis. Hence she is praised as Nitya Parakrama-topa Nirikshana Samutsuka, meaning the one who anxiously watched the valor of Nitya Devis. As the sun rose, the fleeing Asuras became clearly visible. The Nitya Devis allowed them to escape, as it was not fair to pursue and kill a retreating foe. Victorious, the Nitya Devis returned to Lalitamba, bringing the wounded with them. Pleased with their bravery, she smiled at them, instantly healing their injuries and restoring their joy. Meanwhile, the additional 10 Akshohini armies that were sent to keep Lalitamba's armies engaged also perished, while Kutilaksha fled back to his kingdom. Shamala Devi and Varahi Devi returned back to Lalitamba, prostrated before her, and confessed their mistake of leaving the base unguarded, which made it easy for the Asuras to plot a sneaky attack. As a resolution, they sought permission from Lalitamba to build a tall, impenetrable wall of fire around the base. Devi smiled, gave her approval, and appreciated their defense strategy. Thus Devi Jwala Malanika was assigned this task. She took the blessings of Lalitamba's lotus feet and began to construct a mighty wall of fire that was 30 yojanas high and 100 yojanas in circumferential length. She is also praised as Jwala Malanika Kshipta Vanhi Prakara Madhyaga, meaning the one who resides in the midst of a fiery wall created by Jwala Malanika. At the south side, an opening was kept for entry and exit, which was guarded by Devi Stambini and Devi Vigna. Inside this fiery fortress resided the Shri Chakra Rath of Lalitamba, the Geya Chakra Rath of Mantrini Devi, and the Kiri Chakra Rath of Dandini Devi, along with the battalions of Ashwaruda Devi and Sampatkari Devi, each commanding 20 Akshohini armies. Thus she is praised as Geya Chakra Ratharuda Mantrini Parisevita, meaning she is served by the Shakti named Mantrini, who rides the chariot known as Geya Chakra. She is also praised as Shri Kiri Chakra Ratharuda Dandanatha Puraskruta, meaning she who is escorted by the Shakti known as Dandanatha, seated in the Kiri Chakra chariot. Meanwhile, Bhandasur, who was furious and ashamed of his defeat, decided to send his 30 sons, who were just as strong and skilled as he was. He sent them with a massive army of 200 Akshohinis. As they reached the battlefield, their war cries shook the earth and frightened the warrior woman. Seeing this, the ever 9-year-young daughter of Lalitamba, Devi Balatriurasundari, sought permission from her mother to confront the sons of Bhandasur. Lalitamba initially refused her daughter's request, saying that she was too young to go to war. But the princess persuaded her mother to allow her to fight. Eventually, Lalitamba blessed her daughter and equipped her with divine weapons. The princess Bala rode fearlessly into battle on her chariot pulled by swans. She swiftly overpowered the sons of Bhandasur, skillfully dodging their attacks and launching a relentless assault. Seeing her incredible prowess, Lalitamba's chief warriors Shamala and Dandini, who were initially afraid of letting the princess fight, became confident in her abilities and withdrew from the battle, watching her fight from a distance. Bala then released the powerful Narayanastra, destroying most of the enemy's army, and then shot out 30 powerful arrows simultaneously, beheading all 30 sons of Bhandasur at once, thus bringing great joy to the demigods and warrior woman. Lalitamba too was pleased by this. Hence she is praised as Bhandaputra Vadodyukta Bala Vikramanandita, meaning the one who was pleased when Bala slayed the sons of Bhandasur. When Bhandasur heard of the death of his sons at the hands of a mere 9-year-old girl, he was devastated. Overcome with grief and rage, he lamented their loss, questioning his fate and the cruel turn of destiny. Seeing their king Bhandasur collapse from grief over his fallen sons, His commanders Vishukra, Vishanga, and Kutilaksha revived him and reminded him that warriors who die in battle attain honor. Their words rekindled his rage, and he vowed to kill Lalitamba himself. However, his commanders insisted that they themselves would handle it. Bhandasur then ordered Vishukra alone to go and weaken the Shakti forces using a magical weapon, the Jaya Vigna Yantra. Vishukra travelled invisibly to Lalitamba's war camp at night. Finding the camp protected by a flaming fence and a guarded gate, he stayed at a distance and prepared the yantra. He invoked 8 demonic energies and cast them into the yantra. He then threw this yantra over the wall of flames into the base camp of Lalitamba. As soon as the yantra was activated, the entire army of warrior women was overcome by lethargy, insubordination, and selfishness. The warrior women abandoned their weapons and refused to fight. They became desirous of comfort, luxury, individual happiness, and freedom. They started to believe that neither Devi Dandini, Devi Mantrini, nor Lalitamba had any authority over them, and that nobody could tell them what to do with their lives. They were free individuals and they could do whatever they wanted to. They justified their reluctance to fight by claiming that it was anyway a sin to kill any living thing. Hence, they put down their weapons. They refused to see the true evil nature of the demons. They started to think that they were sacrificing their lives unnecessarily and were not going to gain anything out of the battle even if they chose to fight. Hence, they all became arrogant, self-centered, and sinful. With the Shakti forces disabled, Vishukra gathered 30 Akshohini armies and stood outside the wall of flames, blowing his trumpet, challenging the Shakti forces to battle. Despite this, the Shakti warriors remained apathetic. The Shakti commanders Mantrini and Dandini, who were immune to the effects of the Jaya Vigna Yantra, were unable to understand the unholy behavior of their warriors. They prayed to Lalitamba to free their armies from this magic spell. Understanding the trickery of Vishukra, Lalitamba turned to Lord Kameshwar. As they exchanged divine smiles, Mahaganesh was born.